The whistle starts loud, clear, melodic, a scale ascending and descending across the grassland at night. It sounds close. That means he is far. This is the rule the cattle hands of the Venezuelan plains learn before they learn to ride. When the whistle is loud, you are safe. He is somewhere out there in the dark, but he is not near you. You can hear him. You can track him. The sound is a gift. When the whistle grows faint, when it drops to a thread of sound at the edge of hearing, when the frogs stop and the dogs begin to howl, he is standing next to you. His name is El Silbon, the Whistler. He has been walking the plains since the 1850s, carrying a sack of his father's bones across a landscape so flat that the horizon is a perfect line in every direction. He is taller than any man should be. His clothes are rags, his back is a ruin of old scars. And the whistle that comes from his mouth follows the 7 notes of the scale, rising and falling as he walks. The cattle hands of Los Llanos do not argue about whether he is real. They argue about how close the whistle was last night. This is his story. Every culture has stories it tells after dark. Not fairy tales, not the ones for children, the other kind. The ones told in low voices, near the fire, when the night is too large and too quiet. Stories about what comes when you break the rules, when you wander too far, when you forget what your grandmother told you. These are those stories. Welcome to Folklore Reborn. This is episode 5, El Silbon. Los Llanos stretches across western Venezuela and eastern Colombia, roughly 500,000 square kilometers of tropical grassland, one of the flattest inhabited landscapes on Earth. During the dry season, the savanna bakes gold and brown under a sky so wide it seems to press down on everything beneath it. During the wet season, the rivers burst their banks and the land disappears under shallow water that reaches to every horizon, until grass and sky and flood merge into a single shimmering surface, and you cannot tell where the ground ends and the air begins. This is cattle country. For centuries, the llaneros, the cowboys of these plains, have worked this land from horseback, driving herds across distances that swallow sound and sight. They sleep in hammocks strung between posts. They cook beef on wooden stakes over open fires. They play the arpa llanera and the cuatro guitar, and sing joropo, the music of the plains, recognized by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage in need of urgent safeguarding. And at night, when the sun drops and the grassland goes dark from horizon to horizon, with nothing between you and the sky, they listen. In a landscape with no walls and no cover, your ears are your first and last defense. Everything that matters announces itself with sound before it arrives with teeth. The story of El Silbon begins sometime around 1850. The Venezuelan War of Independence had ended a generation earlier, but the Llanos was still ruined. Cattle herds that once numbered 4.5 million had collapsed to 250,000. The ranches were gutted. The llaneros who had fought alongside Bolivar came home to a land that could barely feed them. Into this atmosphere of dispossession and moral reckoning, a murder happened inside a family. In the most common version, a wealthy young man demands his father hunt deer for dinner. The father goes out, he comes back empty-handed. The son, spoiled and accustomed to having what he wants, murders him in a rage. He cuts out the organs and brings them to his mother, claiming they are venison. She cooks them, she serves them. The family eats. When the truth comes out, the grandfather takes control. He ties the boy to a post and whips him until the flesh hangs from his back and strips. He rubs the open wounds with aguardiente, hot chili peppers, and lemon juice. He forces a heavy sack containing the father's bones onto the boy's ruined back and curses him to carry it forever. Then he releases two starving, rabid dogs. The dogs tear the boy apart. But death does not end the sentence. There is another version, less told, more uncomfortable. In this one, the father sinned first. He murdered the son's lover. Or he committed violence against the son's wife. The son killed him, not out of entitlement, but out of grief. The grandfather's punishment is identical in both tellings. The curse does not weigh the original sin against the response. It does not ask who was right. The punishment is absolute, and what it creates is worse than either crime. Some researchers believe the story traces back to a real man named Joaquin Flores, who committed patricide in the Llanos around 1850. In communities as small and tight-knit as the cattle ranches of the plains, a crime that rare becomes a story before the body is cold. And in the Llanos, stories do not stay stories for long. What walks the Llanos now is not the boy he was. The Venezuelans call him an espanto, a figure from the folk tradition of the plains that draws from Spanish Catholicism, indigenous belief, and African spiritual influence without belonging fully to any of them. He is emaciated and impossibly tall, 3 to 6 meters depending on who tells it. He wears the rags of a llanero's working clothes and a wide-brimmed straw hat. The sack across his back shifts and clatters with every step. The bones inside it are his father's, and he whistles. The 7 notes of the scale, ascending and descending, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. Clear and melodic, carrying across the flat terrain the way sound carries across water. It would be beautiful if you did not know what it means. Think about what the inversion does to you. Every survival instinct you have about sound is built on a simple truth. Loud means close, quiet means far. Your body processes this before your mind does. A loud sound triggers adrenaline. A fading sound lets the shoulders drop. El Silbon reverses this completely. The moment you relax, the moment the whistle fades and you think he has moved on, that is the moment you are in the most danger. He has turned your own senses into a trap. And in a landscape where sound is the only thing standing between you and whatever is out there in 500,000 square kilometers of darkness, that is the end of safety as a concept. He is drawn to drunkards, to the unfaithful, to those who have betrayed their families and have not been held to account. On certain nights he comes to a house. He sits on the porch, at the threshold between the domestic world and the open plains. He opens the sack, and he counts the bones, one by one, in the dark. If someone inside hears the counting, the household is safe. If no one hears, if the family sleeps through it, someone in that house dies before dawn. Survival depends on staying awake, on listening, on bearing witness to the weight of what he carries. The bones demand to be heard. The dead demand to be acknowledged. Even now, even by strangers. The things that protect you from El Silbon are revealing. Dogs repel him, because starving dogs killed him and the sound of barking triggers whatever remains of his terror. The crack of a whip sends him running, because his grandfather's whip flayed him open. Chili peppers ward him off, because they were ground into his wounds while he screamed. Every defense works by reopening old trauma. You survive El Silbon by reminding a tortured soul of the worst moment of its existence. You save yourself through his pain. And this is the question the legend forces on you. In the version where the father deserved to die, where the son killed out of grief and not greed, the grandfather's curse is a second atrocity built on top of the first. The old man did not break the cycle of violence within his family. He made it permanent. He ensured that the destruction would never end, that the son would walk forever, that the bones would never be buried, that the whistle would never stop. The punishment created something worse than the crime, and the people who hear the counting on their porch at 3 in the morning know this. They know that what is sitting outside their door was once a person, and that the thing which made him into this was done by someone who loved him. Los Llanos is still cattle country. The joropo is still played at gatherings across the plains and in Venezuelan diaspora communities scattered by the country's crisis. El Silbon travels with them, a marker of where they come from and what the night contains. He appears in songs, in festivals, in the way parents warn their children, And on the ranches that still work the grassland, the cattle hands listen when darkness falls. Not for the loud whistle. That one means safety. They listen for the faint one, the one that sounds like it might already be inside the room. Thanks for listening. Follow Folklore Reborn wherever you get your podcasts, and share it if you think these stories deserve to be heard. Every legend we tell here lives as a tabletop adventure you can play. Links are in the description. Next time, in the villages of Angola, there is a man so beautiful that women follow him without question. But his face has another side. And when he turns his back to you, the hyena's jaws are already open. The old stories were warnings.